Many New Mexicans were actually in New York City on September 11th, and they watched the attack on the World Trade Center unfold right before their eyes. Albuquerque resident Bernice Young was among them, and she is with us today to share her story. Good morning, Bernice.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Looking beautiful and patriotic today.
Thank you.
And I want to let everybody know that you have 3 children, and one of her children lives in New York City. Now, you were actually there helping care for your new grandchild.
Right.
So it was a special time. You're there caring for your new baby in the family, and you're scheduled to fly out of New York on the morning of the 11th, right, believe it or not. Now, your son's apartment was less than just 2 miles from the World Trade Center. So can you recount for us the moment when he told you that something was terribly wrong?
He came running in. He had just taken my granddaughter to kindergarten. He came running in and he said something terrible has happened at the World Trade Center. And he's an architectural photographer, so he grabbed his camera. The apartment building had a flat roof, and so we went up on the rooftop. Of course, he wanted to shoot pictures, and that was when we saw the second plane hit. And
oh my gosh! So what did you see? I mean, because I know my sister was telling me the view from rooftops. You just saw smoke. You saw people running in the streets. What was the thing that really affected you the most that you saw?
I hate to say this, but the people.
You saw that. Ooh la 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 la. So okay, so you saw the first. So you saw the second plane. Did you see? You didn't see the first plane. You saw the second plane.
No, we didn't see the first.
Now, did you actually see the plane hit?
Right. It was. You think it was an accident, the first one, and then when the second one hits, you think, my God, this is real.
And you're not seeing the image on TV. You're seeing it in front of you, just like we're looking at right now.
Yeah, this is a picture my son took.
And it was so eerie, the blue sky that day. I mean, it was one of the most beautiful, clearest days that New York has ever seen. And you look at a photo like this. Now, did your son actually take this photo?
Yes, those are his shots.
What a beautiful, oh my gosh, a brilliant photographer. And now you're watching this, you see the plane go, and then you see the tower collapse, the first tower, then the second. What was that like for you? I mean, can you share that feeling?
Well, those were such beautiful buildings, plus the fact that you knew there were hundreds of lives being lost. It was you were in disbelief. This can't be happening to our country. It just can't be.
And when as I say, you watch it from TV, and it certainly affects you no matter where you are. But when you're watching it from New York in that moment, what is going through your mind? If anything, besides shock and disbelief.
You're in shock. I really didn't get terribly excited, I guess, until we saw the Pentagon be hit on TV, and then I thought, my God, this is for real.
It feels like it's the end of the world.
Right.
And I'm sure that your son would agree that for somebody that lives in New York or grows up in that area, when you purchase your real estate, when you buy an apartment, kind of like here, we look for that view of the Sandias. We want to see the mountains in our backyard. It's the same thing with that New York skyline, and the skyline changed forever that day.
Right. It certainly did.
And as a photographer, I'm sure for him that was something that really stood out.
Right.
So now you're in this moment, you're going through this. What was the rest of the day like after the initial shock?
Well, it was terror, really. What do we do? The first day, the wind was blowing out. The second day, the wind was blowing in, and we were getting smoke and ash and odor.
The odor,
and so there was one bridge open out of Manhattan.
That's right.
And we took that and we drove down to Philadelphia, where my daughter-in-law's family lived at that time. And so 5 days later, I was able to get a plane out of Philadelphia back home to New Mexico.
My goodness, Bernice. Well, thank you for for sharing that story with us. And there's more to it. I want to first, before we get into anything else, you did write a very special poem. I'd love for you to share that, if you would.
Okay. It seems unreal that 10 years have gone by since I saw those towers fall. It still brings tears to my eyes when those memories I recall. I realized when I saw the destruction that those planes had caused that day, our freedom had been threatened in so many, many ways. Those men and women who rushed in so very brave and true, didn't blink an eye to save those trapped and preserve liberty for me and you. How quick we all seem to forget that blatant attack upon our land by forces not brought to justice yet. Why? We don't understand. So today, stop and remember to pause, and yes, remember to pray for those who lost their lives without cause and those who lost loved ones that fateful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And okay, let me compose myself for a second here. Okay, and you also are a widow.
Right.
And you're a widow of a very special man who was actually in the Air Force. He was a colonel. So I want to ask you, as being a military wife, do you feel that that helped you resolve some of the events of 9/11 and also the wars that have resulted from that day?
In a way, yes, but I just think that the United States citizens have to wake up and
Yes.
realize this is for real. It's
No
not
kidding.
a joke.
Yeah.
We need to be on alert and, hey, wake up, America. Wake up.
And like you said in your poem, you don't forget.
Right.
And take a moment. You know, when we go through our day, take a moment. And it's sad that it takes the 10-year anniversary for us to really stop and
Right.
really make mention of it. But every day, take a moment and say there are people who are fighting to preserve our freedom. But we just never know what can happen. You know, on a beautiful, sunny day, anywhere in our country, something like this can happen. It was possible. And so we can't forget that. And we have to stay on alert and protect ourselves and the ones we love always.
And fly that flag.
And fly that flag. You got it right there on your arm.
Right.
Thank you, Bernice.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing your story
Thanks.
and your poem. And God bless you, really. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
We wish you the best always. And as we go to break, let's look at some more memories of 9/11.
I was in Irving, Texas. I worked for a phone company there. I was at the Knox Center doing, we was actually turning up circuits at the Twin Towers that day on the 107th floor. I was working with 7 people, and the phone line just went blank at the time. So I went into the Knox. They had TVs or the monitors out to find out what was going on. They said a plane had just crashed into the buildings, and so anyway, I called the other building that right after that. I was talking to them, and while I was talking to them, the phone went dead again.
So you were actually on the line with people in the World Trade Center when the planes went in.
Yes, we was turning up circuits to Europe, and they never did find any of the 7 that I was working with.
Really? What was your reaction to that when you saw it on TV?
I was in shock, complete shock. I mean, I just went numb. I mean, I don't think I'll ever forget that day.